In chapter 4, Foucault explores how societies have evolved their methods of punishment, moving from public, violent displays to controlled institutional systems like prisons. This shift reflects deeper changes in how power and control are exercised over individuals. In the past, punishment was a public spectacle. Executions, torture, and shame were meant to terrify people into obeying laws. These acts reinforced the ruler's power. However, reformers in the 18th century argued that punishment should focus on preventing crime rather than brutalizing criminals. They believed punishments should be logical and proportional to the crime, acting as a clear warning. For example, stealing might result in fines or labor, while murder could lead to death. The goal was to link the idea of crime directly to its consequences in people's minds, making the punishment's deterrent effect more effective than fear alone. Reformers like Beccaria and Marat suggested that punishment should mirror the crime symbolically. A thief might lose property rights, a liar face public humiliation, or an arsonist work in fire prevention. This approach aimed to teach lessons rather than inflict pain. The punishment's purpose shifted from revenge to correction, helping criminals reintegrate into society. Work became a key tool, forcing idlers to labor, for instance, address the root cause of their crimes, laziness, while benefiting society through projects like road building. Despite these ideas, imprisonment eventually became the default punishment. Early prisons like Amsterdam's Rasfus or Philadelphia's Walnut Street prison experimented with isolation, labor, and moral reform. Prisoners were classified by behavior, rewarded for good conduct, and subjected to strict routines to instill discipline. These models emphasize transforming the individual through controlled environments, not just punishing them. Over time, prisons replaced public punishments because they offered a more systematic way to manage criminals, hidden from public view but still serving as a deterrent through their existence. Several factors drove the rise of prisons. Public executions and torture were seen as chaotic and ineffective, often sparking sympathy for criminals rather than fear. Reformers wanted punishments that felt natural and fair, avoiding the arbitrary cruelty of older systems. Prisons allowed for consistent, scalable penalties. Jail terms could be adjusted based on crime severity. Labor in prisons could economically benefit society, turning inmates into productive workers. However, early critics warned that prisons risked becoming secretive, abusive institutions detached from public oversight. Prisons introduced new forms of control. Inmates followed strict schedules, endured solitary confinement, and were monitored constantly. The focus shifted from punishing the body to reshaping the mind and habit. For example, religious instruction and repetitive work aimed to instill discipline and morality. Knowledge about prisoners, their backgrounds, behaviors, and progress became central to managing them. This marked a shift from punishing acts to correcting individuals, treating each prisoner as a project for reform. While reformers imagined a punitive city where punishments were visible lessons like public labor or symbolic penalties, prisons instead became closed off institutions. This created a paradox. Punishment became hidden, yet more pervasive. Prisons operated autonomously, with guards and administrators wielding significant power over inmates' lives. Critics argued this secrecy could lead to abuse, distancing justice from public accountability. Yet prisons spread rapidly because they offered governments a practical way to handle crime, central, efficient, and adaptable to different offenses. The transition from public torture to prisons reflects broader societal changes. Power moved from visible violent displays by rulers to subtle institutional control by administrative prisons. Prisons symbolize this shift. They emphasize reform over revenge, discipline over spectacle, and hidden control over public terror. While intended to humanize punishment, prisons also introduce new challenges: opaque operations, potential for abuse, and the risk of reducing individuals to mere subjects of control. This evolution underscores how societies balance punishment, reform, and power, striving for justice while navigating the complexities of human behavior and